It is mailbag time here on NFL Daily. Tyler Jones here. Appreciate you joining us. On today's show, you have questions, and you're in luck because I have answers. You may be wondering, how do I take part in the mailbags? Well, it's a part of our live shows on our main Chat Sports YouTube channel. You get in the comments section, you use the hashtag NFL or Super Chat, and you can be a part of our mailbag show. So let's get to our first question from RC Plane Builder, and it is a two-part question, it looks like. Will Rodgers retire? 1. 2, could Marcus Davenport and Cam Jordan head to the Atlanta Saints because the Falcons are stealing folks from Old Orleans, making them poor? That's funny. Let's start out with the first question. Will Rodgers retire? No, I do not think Aaron Rodgers will retire. And personally, I don't think Aaron Rodgers wants to be in the same Hall of Fame class as Tom Brady. I think Aaron Rodgers wants another year, another run at this. And the Raiders thing, it's starting to make sense. It's starting to add up, right? Him and Devontae Adams together. We know that Rodgers has played with something to prove the last couple of years. He hasn't been happy with the Packers organization. They look like they're getting ready for a rebuild of some sorts. He doesn't want to be a part of a rebuild here. I think that the most likely outcome that we're looking at is Aaron Rodgers ends up in Las Vegas with Devontae Adams. He plays next year, and we'll see what happens from there. As far as Marcus Davenport and Cam Jordan goes, I think those guys end up potentially in Atlanta. That would be possible. Atlanta does have a lot of cap space, so we'll see, but still a ways to go before we get to that point. Evan writes, since Jeff Saturday was able to be an interim head coach, should Eli and Peyton Manning be considered head coach candidates? Well, here's the thing, Evan. I don't like that Jeff Saturday got the consideration for head coaching opportunities, that he was given the chance to be an interim head coach. To go with a guy that clearly was not ready for the opportunity. And I'm not going to do the Bill Cowher rant. I'm not going on that thing, but clearly Jeff Saturday was not the right guy for the job. It didn't work. And, what is it about insanity? The definition of insanity, if you do the same thing over and over again, you expect the same result, right? That's the definition of insanity. If we keep going with the Jeff Saturdays of the world, and that's not a knock on Peyton and Eli, don't take that for granted here. If we keep going with that type of thing, I think we're going to end up with more Jeff Saturdays than we are great coaches, essentially. You look at Brian Griese, for example. He stepped out of the broadcast booth, never coached before, became quarterbacks coach for the 49ers, and did an incredible job this year as the 49ers quarterbacks coach. I'm not saying you can't be an assistant, but there is a hierarchy. There is a system of some sorts. I don't think Eli and Peyton either want to be head coaches either. I think that they would be interested in maybe some front office roles or something like that, but if they wanted to go into coaching, I think they would have done so by now. Connor writes, will Lamar Jackson get traded? Connor, it's a great question. You look at the situation there in Baltimore, and it has been a tug of war of sorts when it comes to these contract negotiations. The Ravens not wanting to pay Lamar that guaranteed money that he wants. This thing's been going on since last summer, these negotiations between the two, and the latest reports were that both sides are hundreds of millions of dollars apart in said guaranteed money at this point in time. I think eventually things will work out. I would bet that the Ravens end up franchise tagging Lamar, and then eventually they get a deal done at some point in time. I'm not ruling out the possibility that he gets traded, but I don't think it's going to happen at this point in time, but we'll see if things change. Where will Lamar end up in 2023? Tell us in the comments section. Give us a team or two that you think Lamar could end up playing for next year. Very curious what you guys have to say about that, of where you think Lamar Jackson is ultimately going to end up going. Today's show is sponsored by Athletic Greens. I take AG1 literally every day by Athletic Greens. Get comprehensive and convenient daily nutrition at athleticgreens.com/chatsports. I gave AG1 a try because I wanted better gut health and wanted a supplement that actually tastes great. I take AG1 every morning, and it makes me feel ready to take on my day. I came into this year wanting to get healthier, and starting my year on AG1 has helped me do just that. I take it every morning, and it's the best I've ever felt. Covering my nutritional basis for the day literally couldn't be easier, which is why I trust Athletic Greens. I just mix 1 small scoop of AG1 with water and drink it first thing each morning. Done. I also like that it costs less than $3 a day. Pretty good if you ask me. It's a really effective daily habit with the highest quality sourced ingredients. Win-win. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/chatsports. That's athleticgreens.com/chatsports. Check it out. The link is also in the comments and the description of today's video. Jeremy writes in, will DA survive the whole 2023 season after doing minimal offensive staff reshuffling? DA, Dallas, I believe, is who Jeremy is referring to. Will they survive? I got to tell you, I don't feel optimistic for the Dallas Cowboys this upcoming season. I don't like the changes they made, personally. I think Kellen Moore is a very good OC, and his play calling I trust more than I would Mike McCarthy's to begin with. And Brian Schottenheimer has failed time and time again as a coordinator around the National Football League. I hated the moves Dallas made. But here's one outcome I could see happening in all of this when it's all said and done. Now that Dallas already missed on Sean Peyton, that he's off in Denver, and he's not going to be the next Cowboys head coach, they are so high on Dan Quinn, and Dan Quinn has done such a good job. I could see a situation where things don't go well for the offensive staff, they don't perform like they're supposed to, and Dan Quinn's the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys next season. That's a possibility I could see happening, quite frankly. Eric says, why would anyone want Derek Carr? If he can't play for the Raiders, where can he play? Eric, it's a very good point. I'm not high on Derek Carr myself. I think Derek Carr plays scared at times. I think that's one of the best ways to describe Derek Carr. He had all those weapons, you think about it. Josh Jacobs, Darren Waller, Davante Adams, and they had literally nothing to show for it this past year there in Vegas. He was the biggest weakness on that team. Derek Carr, if he couldn't work in Las Vegas, Eric, you're absolutely right on this. There's no reason to think that going to New Orleans is all of a sudden going to save that franchise and make it better, or going to Carolina or Atlanta. He had all that talent and did absolutely nothing with it. I'm done with Derek Carr. I think that Derek Carr, he'll get another shot to be a starter for somebody again, but I think it's going to go the route that Matt Ryan did this past year, where it's a big name, it's a veteran quarterback that's won games in the past, but Father Time's caught up with him. Derek Carr, it's only a matter of time before he's a backup in the National Football League. His better days are behind him as far as I'm concerned. Eric, I think the Raiders are making the right move moving on from Derek Carr as far as I'm concerned. Prediction time, where will Derek Carr end up this offseason? If you can name a team or two where you think he'll play for, let us know in the comments section where you think Derek Carr is going to end up this offseason. We're covering the NFL every day here on Chat Sports. If you're not subscribed, what the hell are you waiting for? We got the latest news and rumors. We're also talking draft, trades, free agency, and more. It's all in one place. We do live shows during the week as well. This is the place to be. If you love the NFL, if you want to interact with our show, get involved. Subscribe now for free. Doesn't cost you a thing. YouTube.com/@chatsports. Turn on notifications so you never miss a moment. More questions coming in. Flame writes, will Baker Mayfield be a Ram next season? You know, I have a theory on this, and I don't think this is a hot take. I think I'm just being real with y'all here. You know, there are teams that Baker could start for next year where openings will be available, but they're not necessarily very good teams in very good situations. Baker Mayfield has a good thing going in Los Angeles with Sean McVay, and they've been on the same page, and that really worked out fantastic for the Rams and Baker to both finish out this past year. I would say the best move for Baker Mayfield, as he's trying to prove himself still, that try to prove that he's one of the better quarterbacks in this league, that he's not, washed, I guess, if you want to put it that way. I think the best move for Baker Mayfield, go back to L.A., and whether Stafford's healthy or not, go back there and you either sit behind Matt Stafford, you learn from him, and stay in the Sean McVay system and, get good coaching, good reps in, and then your opportunity comes up when Stafford isn't available. Or if Stafford can't go, then you go out there and you already know the playbook and know the system and those guys that are there. I would like to see him with the Rams next year. I don't know if it happens, but I'd like to see it happen. Jaden writes, if my Falcons make a trade for Lamar, what do you think the trade package would be? So we've talked about this on Ravens Rundown quite a bit, and there's been a couple things that have been put out there as far as a trade package for Lamar and the Atlanta Falcons go. I think you're looking at the Falcons giving up at least 2, maybe 3 first-round picks. Desmond Ridder probably gets included in there. If you're Baltimore, I think you're wanting one of the big-time young players they have, like Kyle Pitts or Drake London, potentially to come up in that trade as well. It is going to be a hefty price when it comes to compensation they would have to give up. I think similar to the Russell Wilson trade to Denver last year. But one thing I would also add to this that you cannot forget, not only if you're Atlanta or anybody for that matter that trades for Lamar Jackson, you also have to give up a ton in salary too. So not only are you giving up a ton of assets, but a lot of your pocketbook goes to Lamar Jackson. It's a lot to take on for any team for that matter. Monty writes, who is the best wide receiver on the NFL trade market? On the trade market, I believe it's DeAndre Hopkins. I think the Cardinals are in complete rebuild mode at this point in time, that they are looking to hit the reset button and move on and really start this thing over. At the time of this taping, we don't know who their head coach is going to be just yet. They did bring in a new GM and all that. Kyler Murray's likely to miss most of next year. I think that they move on from DeAndre Hopkins and then he'll be on the trade market potentially and try to find a new home. He's the name to keep in mind on the free agent market. I think it's Jacoby Myers. I think it's those two. One name I wouldn't rule out as well that could be a trade candidate, depending on the direction this Carolina team goes, is DJ Moore. DJ Moore's still very young as well. I think anybody would be lucky to have DJ Moore. Those are a couple names I'd keep in mind. I'd expect some movement. Last year, the wide receiver market was just ridiculous. I expect the market to be pretty interesting as well this year. Can't forget also about Mike Evans as well. The Bucs, without Tom Brady now, they go into rebuild mode. That's a name to possibly keep in mind there. So, will the Cardinals trade DeAndre Hopkins? I think they will. I think they're going to move on from D-Hop. Do you think that's going to happen? If you think so, type Y for yes. If not, type N for no. Let us know in the comment section if you think the Cardinals move on from DeAndre Hopkins. James says, what are the chances the Patriots trade down with the 14th pick? Well, history would tell us that chances are pretty good. Belichick loves trading down in the draft. We've seen that a lot over the years where Belichick trades down and tries to stockpile for picks in the future. So I would say there's a pretty decent chance. I haven't seen directly of any offers specifically they would be looking at for that 14th spot, but just knowing history and what history says, something tells me there's a pretty decent chance that we see a trade involving the New England Patriots and moving down on that front. James, thanks for the question, and thanks for joining us here on NFL Daily.